Welcome to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast, where you'll hear inspirational stories, encouraging news, and in-depth interviews with authors, influencers, CEOs, and thought leaders. Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. Bold ideas, brave pursuits, boundless inspiration. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Passioneer Magazine, the podcast. I'm really excited about having my guest today. We have Dr. Rebecca Ann Hemmings with us today, and I cannot wait to jump into these questions and find out more about her success journey. So let's get started. Hello, Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Dr. Angela, for inviting me.
Absolutely. Now, before we get started, much like some of the other programs that I do, I believe that everyone should have a little bit of an intro done because we realize there may be some listeners who are unfamiliar with you and the all that you have done. So first question, tell us a little bit about yourself. What makes you you?
Okay, so, wow, that's actually a really deep question, what makes you you? But my name is Rebecca. I'm a Ph.D. I live in Barcelona. I help support people in activating their compassionate self. I support people with chronic illness, people that have anxiety. That's my passion. That's part of my that's part of what makes me me. Yeah, totally.
I love that. Oh my goodness. You are definitely being a positive influence on the rest of the world. And you're not the first person to say that. They're like, oh, Dr. Angela, that's a loaded question. And in part, I do have to say, sorry about that, but we do like to have a little bit of an intro there, but you did a great job. Now, Dr. Rebecca, when you were a little girl, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up? I know many times here in the States, and you ask little girls and they want to be a ballerina, or they want to be a veterinarian because they love animals, or they want to be a teacher because they adore their teacher. Is there any particular profession that really stood out to you when you were a child?
I was a little bit of an entrepreneur actually when I was a child, because I used to make like badges and sell them. I used to make necklaces. So I used to trade things. So I was always I enjoyed, being creative, selling. And I used to have, because I'm going way back, I used to actually have a typewriter when I was a little girl, and I would just, like playing with this typewriter. I mean, I was really young, so maybe like 5, and I would just be like fake typing away on this typewriter and just imagining projecting myself in the future as being a businesswoman and traveling around the world. And then at some point when I was 23, I'd moved to Barcelona, I'd moved to Spain, and I realized actually I've achieved my dream. I'd set up an events business, and at some point when I was younger, I'd kind of had this idea of what I wanted to do, and then at 23 I realized that it had actually come true. So yeah.
Don't you just love those moments where, a full disclosure, yes, there are a couple of us raising our hands going, yep, we had a typewriter too, or we know what you're talking about. Not just a keyboard, but a typewriter. Absolutely. I think we still probably have one somewhere in the attic or tucked away in the garage. So, and you never know when you might need one. So, absolutely. I love that, because for especially us Gen Xers, it allows us to kind of go back in time again and go, Oh, absolutely. What thing did we use that really helped, like you said, project us into the future, into our future selves? And I have to agree, typewriters, microphones, those types of tools that we no longer kind of think of in today's technology really did help solidify it for us. I love that. I love it. Now, at what point did you decide to do what you are doing now? When I interview some authors, many times there's a conversation with someone that says, I love the way you tell stories. You should write a book. And that's their aha. Did you have a nudge or a push or simply a knowing within self that says, yes, today is the day that I need to do exactly this?
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting because besides wanting to be a businesswoman and travel the world, and I actually always knew inside of me there was something more that was always looking for the mystical, the etheric realms. I was very much into all of that as a child as well, and then as a teenager I had some mystical experiences, and I also had a mother that had been poorly treated with mental health issues, so I was really interested in psychology. I mean, as you can tell, I'm pretty neurodivergent, so I have lots of special interests that I go deep into, lots of special interests. So, I really dove into psychology and esotericism. And I was already doing that while I was becoming a businesswoman. So part of me already knew that I was training to do more. And I think I just had a sense of knowing that, I'm a natural researcher. I just love to learn, and I just devour information that I love. And so when it comes to health and it comes to, for example, esoteric sciences, for me, they always fascinated me. And I just knew that there was more that I could
Yeah.
learn and, implement as well to help others.
And I find that when we have that natural inclination, we definitely walk in purpose because we feel that if we do not walk in that purpose, if we don't take that path, that's something that's so lacking, or we
Yeah.
feel as though there's something missing that hasn't quite been done and it needs to be done. There's a natural pull, I think, in that direction. So I love that you have been true to your authentic self, and you've moved forward in that direction because people need you. Now, speaking of people needing you, you touched on a little bit earlier about the people that you assist. And I want to give you a little bit more time to talk about that. Do you help people in their beginning stages of discovery, of moving forward in their wellness? Or are you more of the last step? Or does that matter with what you do?
It really ranges. So I would say when people reach out to me, it's more of a soul calling. They often even tell me, I have no idea why I've contacted you. Like I just feel like a resonant, I need to contact you. And then, I guide them from that point on. And so, yeah, addressing people from a multidimensional level, physically, emotionally, spiritually, is really important for me. And yeah, that's generally how people find me, just from this sense, again, that sense of knowing and feeling that connection, that there is something missing maybe on their healing journey. Perhaps they've already done a lot of healing. I work with people that have already done a lot of healing, but as you already know, with healing there's so many different levels to it, there's so many different layers to it, and it could be that they're just starting out on their journey and they need initial support. I usually start with nervous system regulation, and once that's in place, we can work more on trauma work, or people just, reach out for me to help them with gut microbiome, to optimize their physical health. And that always ties in as well for me, with emotional and spiritual well-being, because, I try to look at people holistically, and we can't really separate those things.
You are so right. We absolutely cannot. And I find that people that work in the field, when they see someone who is in need of some form of assistance, to give them that gentle nudge, I find that they do that quietly, privately. They'll come over and will say something, and I've seen it with my own eyes, where a lady took another woman to the side and she says, you are just absolutely stunning, but I noticed that, this and that. Have you ever tried suggestion? And she says, oh my goodness, I was just reading about that the other day. That's confirmation that I need to do that. So I think that when that is who you are, you do definitely need to follow through with that. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. Now, flipping kind of to the business side of what you do, what advice would the person that you are today give to the person you were when you first started? Now, I know there are lots of nuggets of wisdom that you have picked up along the way, but is there one in particular that really you wish you would have known a little sooner?
Okay, so I probably already knew it, but I just was not listening. That I'm enough, definitely.
Yeah.
There's nothing to prove. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. I'm enough already. And to rest. Simply those things. My younger self could have definitely done with, I perhaps knew it, but actually implementing it. But then, everything in divine timing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have to agree with you there. And I find that as we mature in who we are, just as human beings, as well as whatever our craft or industry is, we don't have the permissions in place. You're right, when we're in our 20s or our 30s, or even our 40s sometimes, because then we are labeled as unproductive, we're lazy, we're procrastinators. We get all of these less than positive labels placed upon us when we say, I need some rest. I need to take care of me today. And it's like, oh my goodness, you're too young to rest. Tired? What do you know about tired? I'm, 60 plus. I'm whatever age. I've worked longer than you've been alive. And I think those statements are very unfair. And we need to stop
Totally.
doing those things, So you're right. Sometimes we needed that rest, though we may have been young. We still needed that rest. Mind, body, and spirit needed that rest. I love that answer. Now, as an organization tends to get larger or become more popular, more demand placed on them, sometimes there's a tendency for that passion, that fire that was originally in the belly. It may dampen because you get bogged down with the day-to-day operations, the day-to-day tasks that need to be addressed. How do you keep the fire going in your business? How do you make sure that not only yourself but your team members are still excited about what you're working on?
Yeah, that's really important. And I think sometimes as therapists that, compassion fatigue can also set in. So, having those times for yourself and for your team to do whatever activities are needed, whether that's, massage, day trips, fun things, just where you can disconnect and enjoy and actually find joyful moments in life, so that when you are, reconnecting to the business, to working, you can connect on an emotional level as well. You don't have that overwhelm present, because I think and also ensuring that the team that you work with share that affinity, share that same passion, is super important. But I think if you have that passion, then the rest of the team it's like contagious, everybody else.
Yeah. I had to agree with you on that one. It's the same way in your household. You know, when you're really in tune with your family, the same way that you're in tune with your team, you can feel when something's a little off, but you can also, like you said, that happiness, that excitement, that joy is definitely contagious as well. I'm so glad that you said that, because I'm sure there's someone listening going, I knew it wasn't just me. It's like, no, absolutely. Make sure that we're spreading that positivity when we can. Now, can you name a person? They can be a real person in your life, a celebrity, or even perhaps a fictional person, and that has really done a tremendous job in keeping you motivated, that has really inspired you or made an impact on you as an individual or you as a leader. I find that there is usually someone in everyone's life that really gave them that nudge, that pep talk, that hug, whatever it was that they needed, that said, you're going to be awesome, and stay on that path. Did you have such an experience?
Yeah, I've had many mentors, many great mentors. One of my favorites, Dr. Joe, Dr. Joe Dispenza, one of my teachers at university. One of my great mentors, Dr. Kate Bartram Brown. She's encouraged me to complete my PhD and to do lots of trainings that I love. And it's also those angels and moments. What came to mind when you asked me that question actually was a stranger that came, and gave me those encouraging words to leave a toxic relationship when I was in the middle of Austria on my own, just me in a suitcase in the hotel lobby. And she spent hours talking to me, and I never saw her again. And I don't even know who she was. So there's these angels as well that just come out of nowhere and really do change the trajectory of your life. And yeah, I still think of her to this day, and she's the who just popped into my head. So yeah, thank you. That was a really important message that I needed to hear.
Yeah. And wow, thank goodness that she followed the prompt that she received as well, to have the conversation with you. Now, not trying to make this, a conversation that it shouldn't be, but I happen to believe that, yes, miracles still happen. Yes, I think angels still assist us along our way. There have been so many people that have said the same thing. I was talking to someone, I turned my head, I looked back, and they were gone. So it's like, you never know what God, the universe, the creator, what's going to happen, who's going to be placed along your path to make sure that you keep moving forward. I love that. If that lady is listening today, thank you for inspiring Dr. Rebecca to continue to be who she is. I love it. I love it. Now, when you look at your routine of the things that you do and how you conduct your day-to-day life, we hear many times, especially when we're at a conference or we're watching a particular YouTube type series or listening to an audiobook, folks talk about how there is something that they must do every day that really helps keep them balanced or keeps them inspired. Do you have one, two, three things that you feel that you have to do every day that absolutely contribute to your having a better day or a better week?
Yeah, 100%. So the first rule is not to rush. I do not rush anymore. I refuse to be rushed. I spent my 20s and my 30s rushing around, and honestly, that does not serve me. I listen to my body, I pace, I take rest when I need to. I don't push myself anymore. I do the things that feel good to me, like Pilates. I love to do Pilates for me. My body right now in this moment of my life is perfect. Eating, clean, whole, seasonal foods. Basic stuff. Good, rituals with my water that I drink. Basic stuff, but overall they have a really big impact.
Hmm. Hmm. I have to agree with you there. So much of our younger years are just spent on the treadmill, just going at an absolutely unreal, unnecessary societal pace. And it is so wonderful when we are able to kind of hop off of that and find our own speed, our own pace. And we're able to do, I feel, so much more when we find our natural rhythm of doing things. I spoke with one person and they said, listen, my day is not the typical 9 to 5 day. They were here in the States where, most people literally work from 9 to 5. Now, of course, there's different shifts and all that stuff, but that's the example. This is, I don't do that anymore. I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. to be in a cubicle by 9 a.m. to stay there all day, blah, blah, blah. She says, I do it a little differently. I break my day up into cycles of the day, and it gives me a chance to go to the store and go to the market and to, meet and greet with the community at the farmer's market. And then I come back and I do more work. And I'm going, oh, that was so beautiful. So when you said, you're trying to eat clean and you're trying to do your water ritual, that so resonates with me as it did when that woman said that as well. We need to have those healthy, beautiful, holistic things that we do that really do keep us charged and keep us moving forward. I can feel someone saying, water ritual, what are they talking about? I am going to let you guys Google that one and figure out which one is best for you. I know that I have my own version of it, and it is just so beautiful. And I feel so nourished, refreshed, and quenched every time. So now my very last question for you, and that is, Dr. Rebecca, when you use your voice in all that you do, in the things in which you help others get through, how do you feel that you're using your voice to empower others?
So I would say the way that, empowerment is so important to me. So helping coaching people, helping them to reparent and become that coach for themselves so that they are interacting with themselves through the lens of self-kindness and self-compassion. And I always call that the activating your divine self as well. So that's the part of you that is leading. And I think that's the authentic self as well. So, what I've learned in my journey is you don't need to be perfect to be loved. You don't need to be perfect to be accepted. So I really try to help and empower other people to understand that knowledge as well. And that, your birthright, your born birthright is that you are sovereign, you're free, you're enough, you're loved and accepted, just, as you are. You're not broken, you don't need to be fixed. That's for me a really important message that I've learned on my journey, and I really like to share that to empower others.
I love that. You are not broken. You are okay as yourself. I love that. I love that. Well, Dr. Rebecca, I tell you, I have enjoyed myself with you today, and I'm so glad that you accepted our opportunity to be here. Now, I said that was the last question, but I do have one more question for you, and I don't want to leave this out. So you are a part of a project of a new book that is coming out. Tell me about your experience. If I understand correctly, you've written a chapter in this book. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so this book has been launched today. I'm really excited for the book to be launched, Emerge with Self-Love. Yeah, I mean, it's, bearing a bit of my soul, really, exposing some of my story and my journey to self-compassion. And yeah, it was a ride, writing that and really feeling and experiencing, what I've been through, to share with others, because the idea is that it inspires other people on their journey to self-love, self-kindness, self-acceptance, knowing that life is full of challenges, and it's how we, respond to ourselves in those challenging moments. That's what the chapter that I wrote, I felt, was resonating with, where I'm at currently in my life at the moment. So I'm super happy that to share this project with other women that are also sharing their stories of their journeys to self-love, emerging with self-love through challenging moments. So yeah, really happy that the book's launched today.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Well, if someone wants to connect with you, or they want to follow you on social media, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. So on Instagram, you can find me. My handle is Rebecca Ann Therapies, and my website is drrebeccaann.com.
I love it. Thank you again, Dr. Rebecca, for spending some time with us here on Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Passioneer Magazine, the podcast.